The Narendra Modi-led government has approved a new pension scheme termed as the Unified Pension Scheme, which will come into effect from the next fiscal year of 2025-2026. After having faced much criticism for having removed the old pension scheme, the government has introduced this scheme, which is meant to amalgamate the advantages of the previous old pension scheme and the features of the new pension scheme. The newly approved scheme ensures that central government employees will receive 50% of their last drawn salary from the past 12 months as their pension. Additionally, those employees who serve a tenure exceeding 25 years will be eligible for post-retirement inflation-linked increments. Joining us at this point is Pankaj Sharma, Joint Secretary, Financial Services Department. Welcome, Pankaj Sharma. Thank you for being with us today. Your first reaction to this big announcement by the Modi government, what do you make of this scheme?
So I believe this question is to me.
Absolutely, Pankajji.
Okay, thank you. So in fact, if you recall that in the budget of 23, this was announced by Honorable Finance Minister that a committee will be constituted under Mr. Somanathan, Finance Secretary. So this committee, in fact, went over deliberations, consultations for almost 1 year, after which this product has come. And the committee, in fact, discussed this issue with almost all possible stakeholders, the staff side of the joint consultative machinery, Reserve Bank of India, state governments. So the idea was this, that it's a unified pension scheme. It has elements both of NPS as well as OPS. So during the course of discussions, the employees had expressed the concern that the NPS does not have certain elements of certainty of pension, the inflation indexation. Apart from that, the issue of family pension. So all of those issues were there. So if you look at the TOR of the committee which was constituted, we had to basically meet both the concerns of the employees as well as ensure that there is sufficient fiscal prudence. So this committee has tried to do justice on both these counts. At one hand, it has tried to address the concerns of employees by through the scheme of giving them assured pension, number one, and number two, by upfronting and by ensuring that the entire fiscal liability is transparently initially itself shown on the budget. We have ensured that the future tax revenues are not compromised by any liability on account of pension.
Yes. Also, Pankaj Sharma, a big question, of course, in people's minds is how is it an improvement of the old pension scheme, and what is, what is in it that is further than the existing pension scheme, which was criticized by some as well?
So if you look at OPS, it was basically a scheme which was defined benefit but unfunded. So it basically left it to the future generations to pay for the pensioners which would come in the future. Whereas NPS was a scheme which was defined contribution, but the benefits were not defined. Now, this element tries to draw both from the new pension scheme as well as from the old pension scheme, and it's a hybrid. So while this scheme is also a defined benefit in terms of assured pension, so for every employee, an assured pension is guaranteed. At the same point of time, the contributory nature of the NPS continues being there. And to ensure that the employee gets the assured pension, the government has, of course, decided to increase its share of contribution from 14% to 18.5%, which was clarified yesterday that on a periodical basis, every 3 years, it will again be reviewed.
Yes. Also, Pankaj Sharma, another concern would be how much is this really going to burden the exchequer?
Now, of course, as the scheme is an improvement over NPS, it has added features for the subscribers. There are certain fiscal implications which this scheme will carry, but those will be provided for upfront, the point which was clarified even yesterday. So by an initial estimate, in the first year of the scheme, around 6,000 to 50 crores will be required on account of incremental share of government, and 800 crores will be required for clearing the areas of those employees who already have become NPS pensioners.
Okay. A lot of the opposition parties are criticizing it, and while you don't need to get into the politics of it, obviously, what do you make of some of the criticism that they have mounted, saying that this is nothing but a renaming of what already existed and a repackaging of it?
I think that it's a hybrid scheme which has elements of both NPS as OPS. So it's a new scheme in itself, which has elements of both the OPS as well as NPS, with the fiscal liability being upfront and transparently depicted by the government. Uh, so I think I will limit my response to this point.
Okay. Do you also believe that this was the need of the hour? This was something that is needed for government servants and for the bureaucracy, and will be a big boost for them?
Yes, I think this point was clarified yesterday also, that all I can say that during the last 1 year of the interaction which we had with the staff side, this concern of the pension not being guaranteed, certain uncertainty in the pension was there. The family pension not being there, the inflation indexation being missing. Now, this UPS is something which will try and address those concerns of those government employees who had those concerns. Having said that, government employees will have the option of choosing UPS, as well as if they wish to, they can also continue with the old NPS.
How long will that option be with them?
So I think that this scheme will come into effect on 1st of April 2025.
Okay.
So at suitable time, government will be seeking option from the employees regarding OPS, NPS, and this option can be exercised by them in due course.
This will be implemented sometime next year. All right. Okay. Well, let's leave it at that. Pankaj Sharma, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that big story. Let's also get in some other guests joining us now. Dr. Sharad Kohli, senior economist, is live with us. Sumit Peer, political commentator, joins us live. Nikhil Jain, political analyst, is also live with us. Sharad Kohli, your overall reading of this new scheme, do you believe it's a good one? And what is going to be the fiscal impact of this unified pension scheme?
Well, good evening, Uday. Good evening to my fellow panelists and, of course, NewsX viewers. I think I call it as a new old scheme, although the name given is unified. As Pankaj rightly said, it's trying to pick up the best of both ends. Old pension scheme, we all know, it was very popular with the government employees. It was one of the reasons why people used to run after government jobs was the pension, and a lifelong pension, and then post-life pension, posthumous pension to the family as well. That was one of the attractions in a government job. And ever since new pension scheme was gradually being implemented 2004 onwards here and there, I think, and when the central government brought it, there was a lot of noise. Some elections were won, some elections were lost because of the scheme. So it was a very touchy issue from the electorate point of view. If you take, let's say 1 crore central government employees, for example, take 5 members each. So about 5 crore people directly or indirectly impacted. In some way or the other. So the scheme was quite controversial, the new pension scheme, because the main issue that new pension scheme was that you had to contribute. It was like running a mutual fund. You're basically investing somewhere, and the markets may do well, markets may not do well. So your pension is never guaranteed. So it was like people were saying, this is our own pension. There's nothing that government is doing for us. So I think when that criticism was being showered for a long time now, it was high time that government took a call. I remember when the Himachal elections were there, I was on your channel, and we had a hot debate on this as to what is the load on exchequer. We all know, as far as the load on exchequer, your question is concerned, as Pankaj rightly said, he was the best person to say about 50,000 crores. But as we progress, probably the load will increase, because as more and more people subscribe to it. And one of your questions was, Uday, and as Pankaj said, that people will be given a choice of selecting old versus new. I really doubt anybody is going to choose the NPS, because this is going to give you 50% of your basic. Now, the difference between the old pension scheme and this hybrid pension scheme is, or the unified pension scheme is, that there was a dearness allowance. Now, every time a dearness allowance was announced, I remember the central government employees celebrating. They used to go and out for dinner with their family. Today, we've been given that inflation-oriented dearness allowance. Now, this provides for inflation cushion. If you've completed 25 years of service. Another very important aspect of UPS is that if you have not completed 10 years of service, you will not be eligible to pension. One. And if you've done between 10 and 25, there'll be a pro rata. So your pension will accordingly be reduced to the proportion. So, but people completing 25 years of pension are definitely going to get, 50% of their basic. And family pension, I think, is a big takeaway, because when the family member was not there, the family used to suffer. That was the main thing. So giving 60% of that pension to the family lifelong, I think is a huge takeaway. And another big thing I think which has happened, people who are still grumbling, you were talking about the opposition voices. One of the opposition voice I heard was that the DNS allowance is not there. But the fact that this is inflation adjusted is a very big takeaway, because inflation could be 6%, 7%, 8%. Tomorrow, God forbid, if inflation shoots higher for any reason, for global reasons, your pension will get adjusted accordingly. So I think, and what is the meaning of DNS allowance? DNS allowance is the same thing. DNS allowance is an inflation-oriented allowance. So I don't think there is a room for criticism there. The best of both ends have been combined. And I think now nobody can complain. Well, if somebody wants to complain, you can probably complain for the rest of your life. You can complain for anything that government does. If they turn left, they complain. They turn right, they complain. They turn back, they complain. They move forward, they complain. So there is no end to complaining. But at least now, I think a point has been reached, Uday, where government employees can feel relief. They can feel now their jobs are more secure. There is an element of social security there, which I think is a huge takeaway.
Okay, it's a huge takeaway. It's a move in the right direction. And opposition complaints are bound to happen. They should be ignored, says Sharad Kohli. Nikhil Jain, your take on this, your response to Sharad Kohli, and your overall assessment of this new unified pension scheme.
So certainly this unified pension scheme is better than the so-called new pension scheme. But I guess there remain certain things that were there in the old pension scheme, not in this one, which is why the experts are calling it the hybrid scheme. I am not one to complain on this. I will not say that this is a bad move by the government. This is a step in the right direction. And I think this is the magic of a coalition government, or the magic of 240, however you may like to put it, that finally the government, the Modi government, is willing to listen to the qualms of the people. They have finally backed down to a certain extent on something that for years and years they tried to tell everybody that we were doing the right thing when they were trying to propound the new pension scheme. So I don't think a lot of opposition players are going to complain. Of course, they are going to come out and say, I told you so, and the government has buckled under our pressure, and rightly so. This is the job of the opposition, to raise the voices of the people, to raise the concerns of the people with the government, and make sure that if the government has fallen somewhere, if they've taken a bad step that is not pro-people, the government rolls it back. And this is what we are seeing. This also happened with the Waqf bill. This also happened with the digital broadcasting bill. It has happened with a slew of measures that this government was either in process of taking before the formation in June this year, or had started after June. And I look at it as a positive step from the government under pressure from the opposition. So I think finally we are at a place where the government and opposition are both working for the people.
Sumit Peer, do you agree with that analysis by Nikhil Jain, that this is a U-turn, this is a rollback, this is a forced reversal by the government because of opposition pressure? Sumit Peer?
Uday, thank you for having me on your show. Look, let's talk something factually. I can take credit for Morning Sun coming up and I say I had written to Modi ji on the Twitter. That's why Sun came up in the morning. And Sun set in the evening because Sharad Kohli had again tweeted, so Sun set in the evening. We can take credit for everything and anything that happens. And even you can take for the afternoon. Like Ghar mein isliye because Uday had tweeted Modi ji. That's why that happened. Look, committee was formed 1.5 years back. Right? It was not formed yesterday. So there's no coalition there. That time of time, there was no coalition. There was absolute majority. The challenge is as simple, I tell you, Uday. Look, this scheme, if you look at it, OPS had benefits, NPS was something lacking. So what they have done, they have got NPS into place, and whatever the risk element, which was market driven, government comes in and chips in there. So it's still going to be contributory, but whatever the risk markets might pose to the scheme, I am coming to cover that risk so that there's an X amount of flow which will come to it. Dr. Kohli beautifully explained to us, right? That is what the UPS is about, the Unified Pension Scheme is about. That is point number one, which we have to clearly understand. Secondly, it is not like OPS where the government was paying all the money. For example, Sriman Rahul Gandhi ji said in Himachal elections that if I will win Himachal, I will move back to OPS. That was his election winning plan. But when you look, you know what are the numbers of Himachal. You know how badly Himachal is stuck financially. Now, if you look at the numbers of Himachal, the budgets of the Himachal, only matra 82% of the budget had to be allocated if you wanted to go back to OPS. Now, the first question I want to ask here, has Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi gone back to OPS in Himachal? That is why they won the election. Have they done in Karnataka? No, because they know that is not affordable. OPS was not affordable at that point of time. Point number two, and NPS were also option. It can be extended to the private sector. So you, me, anybody who's a private sector who is working somewhere as an employee, the NPS can be extended to him. So is the UPS can be extended to him. So it's not only about government employees. It's anybody who's salaried who can go for UPS and they will get the benefits of it. So it's a beautiful scheme in a way. It does not burden the government like OPS, where 82% of your revenue has to go to funding the pension. Here you fund the pension. If there's a upper niche because of market risks and all, whatever money is need to be chip in will be chip in. Like Pankaj Sharma ji was saying, it's 50,000 crores right now. In due course of time, it might increase, it might slightly decrease. So that is the beauty of the scheme, which has to be brought in. Now, if somebody wants to take a credit, it's because of me, it's because of my magic. That is where the problem is. The problem here is that you do, you are doomed. You don't do, you are doomed. You try to do, you are doomed. And when you are successful, you are still doomed. मतलब वो शोले वाला scene है, दोनों तरफ head है. So we should have a coin in which both the sides, we should have Rahul Gandhi on the both the sides. So whichever way you toss it, you will get Rahul Gandhi's image. So say it's because of Rahul Gandhi this happened. If Rahul Gandhi was so brilliant on this, why didn't he introduce such a scheme in Himachal and Karnataka? Why didn't he go back to OPS in Karnataka, in Himachal, which was his election winning plan? So when you run a government, when you run a country, sanity has to prevail. And let's not forget at 2014, banks were almost dead. We were at fragile 5. Now, when we are at, in the top 5, there are a lot of people who are not liking it. There are a lot of people who are getting irked with it. And what they are saying is because of us, it happened. No, it's a proper committee was found. Pankaj Sharma ji was explaining, every stakeholder was taken in, and whatever best could be done, even the circumstances and not loading the exchequer like OPS fully, you have done it. You have just covered the risk part, which the government should do. So this scheme is a welcome to all. This scheme has no flaws. It's a perfect scheme. And it even covers the people who, anybody who's employed can be covered under this scheme. So the people who are salaried, basically where the pension comes in, and even the people who might want to opt for it. And there are schemes like Atal Pension Scheme and others, which are even open for the common man. You might or might not be employed. You can still enroll in that. There are schemes run by LIC. You can again enroll for it. So it's a beautiful thing wherein the government is doing the right kind of things and letting the people know what are the benefits of it. Shrima Rahul Gandhi ji can try to take the credit for each and everything, but that is the politics of it. But what I like today is that even our good friend Nikhil Jain, who usually opposes the government for everything, was saying it's a step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction. Let's give the credit where it lies. The government of the day, under Modi 2.0, there was a committee formed. In Modi 3.0, the recommendations of the committee got implemented. And as far as the work is implemented, it is not under the pressure of the opposition. It was sent to JPC. That is what the Modi ji did. I mean, if you wanted a deliberation, let's have a deliberation. So the challenge here is that you can't start taking credit for each and everything what the government does. And then your problem is when something goes right, you don't want to give the credit to the government. And when something goes wrong, you don't want to take the blame. That is a typical classical running with the hare and hunting with the hounds. That is what the opposition does. I have been always talking about one thing on NewsX Uday. Has Rahul Gandhi ever given 10 positive suggestions? Bhai, this is what should be implemented. Then I will really salute Rahul Gandhi. You have become a leader of opposition who is into constructive, positive politics. But this is the flaws of your scheme. These are my 10 suggestions. Government may implement 5 or 7. Then you can come and say, look, I gave these 10 suggestions. Out of that, 7 have been implemented. So what I contributed was right. But just by opposing, मतलब देखो कि आज हवा किस तरफ है, and align my yachts and sail my boat accordingly, that is not politics, that is opportunism. And everybody understands what is the difference between a constructive opposition, a real pragmatic opposition which is helping the country, and what is aligning my what do you call these my boat to the wind. That is not what the politics is about. So let's give the credit where it is due, and I firmly believe that government and opposition should work together. There are things which should be done, but what I want, if you want to take the credit, Mr. Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Uddhav Thackeray ji, take all the credit, but कृपया करके हमें ये बताइए आपने जो 10 सजेशन दिए थे, सुझाव दिए थे, उसमें से कितने इंप्लीमेंट हुए? The 10 suggestions which you gave, how many of them have been implemented? You can't take credit for the sun coming up and sun going down. That is my problem, Uday. So we don't want to politicize this one. It's a good step for the country.
Nikhil, your response.
Rahul Gandhi has never given any constructive suggestions. He did ask the government to pass a joint resolution in the House on the issue of paper leaks when the NEET issue had surfaced. He did talk about taking strong measures to prevent the spread of COVID weeks before the Prime Minister announced a lockdown in March 2020. He did talk about the fact that Agniveer is wrong, and now we have veterans from the army and other armed forces telling that Agniveer was indeed very wrong. on the issue of OPS, the Rajasthan state government under Congress Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot did reinstate the OPS scheme. So let's not pretend that it is Rahul Gandhi who has to run the country at the moment. At the moment, it is Prime Minister Modi who has to run the country. What the opposition's job is to hold the government to account for the wrong things that they're doing or for their anti-people, policies. That is what Rahul Gandhi, Congress, and the other India Alliance members have been doing. And I'm not quite sure why is Sumit not willing to agree to that. I am willing to agree that the government has taken a step in the right direction. He should also see that the opposition is also making the government take those steps in the right direction. That's
at the end of the day. Is this yes? I think Sharad would also want to respond to that. But Sharad Kohli, is this at the end of the day a political step as well? There are upcoming assembly elections. Couple of those states, analysts say, might witness a close fight in Haryana and Maharashtra. Is this why then this scheme has been mooted?
Yes, Uday, we should not run away from reality. And so what if there are elections coming in the forefront and we have to take some decisions? So what? I mean, this is popular across the world. The governments in some of the most developed countries, they take decisions closer to the elections which are popular, which are populist. So I don't see any harm in that, first of all. So the answer to your first question is yes. But there is a very popular saying that good economics is bad politics and bad economics is good politics. So per se, coming from the world of economics, I would like to say, Uday, that pensions as such, when OPS was removed, if you look at the state balance sheets and the way states are bleeding, you would be surprised that some of the states' finances are in a pathetic state. Take, for example, West Bengal. Take, for example, Punjab. Take, for example, Kerala. Take some of the, I can present their numbers. I think the whole discussion will go out of track. But the fact of the matter is that there is heavy loans on these states. The fiscal responsibility budget, the FRBM Act has been grossly violated. The debt is very high. The debt to GST-GP ratio is high. And this pension burden on the states adds to the exchequer. What does this do? This prevents newcomers from taking up the jobs. This prevents development. This prevents infrastructure investment. So we have to take a totalitarian view. Yes, there is politics in this. I do agree. However, at this point of time, I would like to say we must not politicize the issue. A decision has been taken in the interest of central government employees. There are a lot of central government employees who were voicing their concern. The politicians were simply echoing that. They were trying to echo that concern. They were trying to pick that up as meat and probably try and cash on their own political motives. But the fact of the matter is that central government employees have been benefited. These are the people who run the central government machinery. They should be getting the benefit. However, I would like to add a very important point to that. I feel that 95% of the workforce in this country is either coming from unorganized sector or coming from the private sector. I feel that there should be a level playing field for the unorganized sector as well. We forget this is for the organized sector. Some of the private employees may be able to take the benefit of this. What about the millions and millions of unorganized sector? There is no social security for them. Atal Pension Yojana is there and a few other things are there. But there is nothing which comes anywhere near this kind of pension system. So I feel a perfect step in the right direction would be when the entire workforce of this country, which is now 50 crore plus, when the entire workforce in this country gets some kind of social security for their retiring years. That's an idealistic situation. And I'm sure because this is a step in the right direction, I'm sure the next step would be to start looking at the unorganized sector as well, Uday.
All right. Yes, Sumit Peer had a point to make. Go ahead, Sumit.
You see, Nikhil Bhai did not answer why it was not implemented in Himachal. I told you the 80% is the burden. So, let's not do what Sharadji rightly said. Let's not do politics over economics. Economics is numbers. Politics is fine. But you see, when things go in the right direction, Nikhilji was saying that Rahul Gandhi advised government on the COVID. Rahul Gandhi also advised government to get this Pfizer and modern Pfizer vaccines. You know how bad the vaccine is, what were the kind of disasters we had. Rahul Gandhi also told that there was a no surgical strike would happen. Rahul Gandhi also told that, bhai, ye Balakot to hua hi nahi tha. When all these things come, I am okay with the opposition. Yes, opposition created the pressure, I give it to the opposition. But now if you want to take the credit, I'm not saying they did not create the pressure. They create the pressure. I give it to them. But if you want to say it's because of my thing, it's because of me, I want to take all the credit, then people will ask you for your tangible inputs, which are always missing. Rahul Gandhi ji says, I am fighting Shakti at times. At times say he's a
yes.
Kashmiri Pandit Brahman, and he says Kohe Suleiman he's okay with. So when you look at the contradictions of the personality of Rahul Gandhi, why am I bringing him in? Because he's the leader of the opposition. So as a leader of the opposition, it is very important to talk of the person who is trying to take all the credit. Yes, we give you credit for raising this issue, but you can't get the credit for getting it implemented the way it has been implemented. Let's give credit to the professionals and the intent of the government who wanted to implement it. Bhai. Seedhi si baat hai.
Okay, Nikhil, quickly.
Point when Rahul Gandhi suggested the bringing in of Pfizer Moderna vaccines, nobody knew the side effects of vaccines at the moment.
Right.
We have seen similar side effects with Covaxin as well as AstraZeneca. Secondly, Rahul Gandhi never questioned the surgical strikes or the Balakot attacks, so I'm not quite sure where Sumit Bhai is getting any of that from.
No, he questioned Nikhil ji. He said proof lao. He said they never give the proof, and he said dalali zahar ki.
What? No. What the Congress said at the moment of the Balakot strikes was that let us present the proof of the strikes in front of the entire world, so that Pakistan's ploy that they're reaching the international green.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.